Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Loden. I'm the CEO of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and this is one of our exclusive TSO programs for our subscribers and donors. We very much wish that we could be with you right now in the concert hall, but we're also delighted that we can bring you some of this type of activity online. Your patronage for both our live concerts and also these kinds of online activities, they mean so much to us. And so we really appreciate all the support that you offer because it allows us to do really fun things like we're going to do today. So many of you may have actually been planning on being with us this weekend to hear the extraordinary music of Motown, from Marvin Gaye to the Four Tops to the Temptations and Stevie Wonder. All of that was planned for Roy Thompson Hall. And at the head of that wonderful musical extravaganza was going to be Jeff Tyzik, who is a just fantastic, world-renowned pops conductor, arranger, composer, happens to be a terrific trumpet player as well. And since we couldn't get together in the concert hall, we thought that we would spend a little bit of time chatting with Jeff. And so he is one of three special guests that we have for you today. Jeff Tyzik will be here. We also are going to have the remarkable vocalist Shayna Steele. She was going to be on the stage, and she's going to be on your computer or your phone any moment now. And we have a brief video from Andrew McCandless, who's the principal trumpet player for the TSO. We really appreciate him putting together a video that I think you'll find enjoyable. So Jeff Tyzik is he's an American conductor, arranger, composer, as I mentioned, trumpet player. He's also the principal pops conductor for Detroit, Rochester, Dallas, and Florida orchestras. He's had recordings with many of the world's top ensembles, including Cincinnati Pops Orchestra and the Royal Philharmonic. And you might remember him from the last time that he was here in May 2019 with the Queen of Soul program, which also happened to have Shayna in it. So without further ado, let's welcome Jeff.
Matthew,
hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm better now that you're here.
Well,
how are you doing?
I'm happy to be in Toronto in some way. I spent my honeymoon in Toronto in 1972, so I have a long history with Toronto.
Oh wow, that's great. That's great. Yeah, where are you now? Where are you coming in from?
I'm on the tip of Long Island, New York. It's way out. I'm about 20 miles from the end of Long Island on what's called the North Fork, and the North Fork is our winery country. There are 60 wineries out here, farms, and it's very beautiful, near the ocean, near the Sound, and it's where I typically am in the summer as I'm preparing new concerts for the fall, doing writing and cleaning up a lot of music and thinking about things that I want to write, and also doing some composing, which is another part of my life that is important to me, and writing all different kinds of music. So it's a summer place to do that, and also sit back and watch a beautiful sunset.
It sounds like the perfect place to be isolated for something like a pandemic. So I'm glad you're out there and safe. And for everyone that's watching, we hope that you're also someplace safe and that we can offer a little bit of fun and respite for you in some challenging times for many of us, I know. So Jeff, we were going to hear this incredible music of Motown, and Motown Records is what the name comes from, universally adored. I wonder, this is something that music that started in the 1960s, which is a long time ago. Why do you think the music is still important and so relevant and popular now?
Well, first of all, we can trace the roots of this music back to ragtime in the early 20s. A lot of the music of Motown is based on the blues progression, which is actually a popular thing throughout all music. Jazz, even the Rolling Stones, the Beatles were influenced by the blues, which was music that was basically part of the African-American heritage that they brought with them as they fused the music from their country with American music and French martial music to create ragtime. And then as we came forward through the jazz period and the swing era, and when we hit Motown, that was the next time where that music really was influenced by what came before it. And of course, Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson were the key persons who started the Motown label and created just these incredible groups, as you mentioned, a lot of the groups, and Marvin Gaye and a lot of Stevie Wonder and these great artists. And they really had a sound. There was a Motown sound that we've captured in the concert with these great songs, melodies, fantastic rhythm, these brass figures that people could hear that were also key signature parts of the songs. And it was just great music, happy music, and really wonderful to listen to, and dance music. And it stood the test of time. It's still very popular.
That's what I don't think I've ever heard such a perfectly eloquent and succinct way of describing a musical historical period of time like that, and it really puts it in perspective. That and I think it helps to make the music resonate even more when you know where it actually started from. So one of the other things that I've always thought about Motown is that it was such a powerful platform for powerful women like Diana Ross or Martha from Martha and the Vandellas. And we're delighted to have, I think, a pretty powerful woman with us today as well. Jeff, can you introduce our next guest?
Shayna Steele is, the word remarkable is, apropos for sure. She was made her debut in Hairspray on Broadway. And she's done many Broadway projects, and she also has sung in support of great artists like Bette Midler and a lot of other people on tour. But that's part of the story that all of us musicians who are working have. My history includes Chuck Mangione and Doc Severinsen, and we all worked with other people. But Shayna is also an incredible composer, and she, with her husband, arranges popular songs in a new and interesting and different way than I've ever heard before. And I think the main thing about Shayna that I love, I'm a kind of a connoisseur of vocalists. There are a lot of people who sing songs. They'll sing a song, but they don't live the song. They don't live the lyric. Shayna becomes the music. When she sings a song, she's telling a story, and she's bringing that story to life, like the great vocalists like Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole, people like that. It wasn't just about the style and the sound, but it was what they brought to the music, and she is on that level. She's incredible. I love her. I'm always thrilled to be on stage with her, and what can I say but Shayna Steele.
There she is.
That's the best intro ever. Oh my gosh, I'm just back here like, what?
Who's he talking about?
What are you talking about? Well, thank you for that stellar introduction. Hi, guys. Hey, everybody.
Hey, thanks for being with us. It's wonderful to have those accolades, and they're well deserved. Many of us who are seeing you right now have heard you as well, and can attest to how phenomenal it is that you're in the world doing the stuff that you do. We really appreciate it. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm actually in Columbus, Ohio. I'm at my in-laws. So yeah, I live in Maplewood, which is like 30 minutes outside of New York.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good. So have you been there for the duration?
No, we stayed home. We went home in March. My husband was in Nashville working when everything got shut down. And we just came here last week. We were like, we need to go see some people. We need a change of pace. So we went and got our COVID tests, and we were on our way.
Good for you. Well, I'm glad you could mix things up a little bit and get a change of scenery.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's probably the moment to actually have another change of scenery and see if we can get some Shayna music happening here. Jeff, can you make another introduction since you do it so well?
I will, and I also want to say that when you see this clip of Shayna singing, there's this gentleman in the background playing piano. That's Shayna's husband. He is a phenomenal musician himself, arranger, composer. He was Taylor Swift's music director for still is. He's still a music director. Yeah,
check it out.
Ben, the Netflix special that Ben Platt just did, that whole concert, that was, my husband was a musical director and did all the music for that as well. So very proud of him.
And we actually, we'll talk about the Shayna's new show after the clip, but this is a song that was going to be on the concert, and it's a Stevie Wonder song. And usually this song is sung, well, it's sung by Stevie, you know, and people think of it as a male vocal. But when I heard the song and I was thinking of how we're going to close the first half, I said to myself, man, this is Shayna all over the place. So this is Stevie Wonder's Superstition.
Very superstitious, writings on the wall. Very superstitious, that is about to fall. 13-month-old baby, broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck, good things in the past. If you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Oh, yeah, ain't the way. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands. Rid me of your problems. Do all that you can. Keep me in your daydreams. Yeah. Keep me going strong. You don't have to save me. Sad is a song. If you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. It ain't the way. Very superstitious. Nothing more to say. Very superstitious. Devil's on his way. 13-month-old baby. Broke the looking glass. Oh, yeah. 7 years of bad luck. The good things in the past. If you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Oh, 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 oh. It ain't the way.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh
man. The writing is on the wall for sure. That was awesome.
Now I feel 10 times worse for not doing this tomorrow. You know?
I know.
Oh yeah, the way it sounds with an orchestra is like, oh, we'll be back.
Yeah. I have to say, you know, I always have in my ear like those fantastic brass licks that happen in that tune, but you scatting is every bit as good as a brass section making that happen. Wow, thanks for bringing that to us.
You know what I mean, though, about how Shayna just lives the song. I mean, wow, you just brought right in. It's not somebody singing something. It's somebody creating this moment, this experience when they sing, and those are the singers. Actually, I like to call them vocal artists. Those are the ones I admire the most.
Totally. Well, and what's it like to do that kind of presentation with your husband at the keyboard?
Well, we've been doing that for years now. I met Dave in a recording studio back in 2001. And we started a band together, but all of our songwriting, the process has always started at the piano, just in a small room with whatever's on our mind. What do we feel like writing? What kind of vibe are we going for? So everything's always started at the piano as a songwriter. And because I believe if the song doesn't sound good at the piano, then I don't care how many bells and whistles you throw at it. It's not a good song.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Sure. So, and how do you, when you're in the space where you're putting on your composer hat, your songwriter hat, do you approach it from the standpoint of knowing that there's something that you want to express and there's some kind of musical framework, or do you go off and listen to a bunch of Stevie Wonder and then try and put something together like Stevie Wonder did?
I think for every album, it just kind of depends on what I've been listening to. For example, the last album that I did, Watch Me Fly, at the time when I was writing the tunes, I was listening to a lot of blues, like Big Mama Thornton and Bessie Smith. Like I was listening to that style of music. So I was very influenced by that. Whereas at the time when I put out my first album, I was listening to a lot of Aretha, a lot of Shaka Khan. I wanted a horn section. Like it just depends on what's going on in my life. And I've mentioned this several times. Like there was the music that I wrote before I became a mother, and the music I wrote after being a mother, and it is like night and day. Just the style of my writing, and also just the subject matter.
Sure. Kids tend to change a few things in our lives, one way or another.
Yeah, a few things.
So Jeff, we've talked about some of these brass licks, and Shayna just mentioned like the world of horn that she kind of sometimes occupies. You as a phenomenal trumpet player yourself, tell us a little bit about how that particular instrument has been infused into the Motown sound.
Well, if you come from the era of again, you go back to ragtime, you come through swing, you come through the big band. I mean, the big bands, the brass section was always pumping. And I think what happened is in the 60s when the Motown thing started happening, these arrangers, they'd go into the studio, they'd lay down a chord progression, then they would kind of figure out what was the melody going to be. They'd have little ideas and they would put it together. But there was a lot of blank space going on the tracks themselves. And they started writing these really what I call signature horn lines, these melodic and rhythmic phrases in the horns, that being trumpets, trombones, saxes, that really became an important part of the tune, recognizable melody snippets that people began to rely on as also almost as important sometimes as the melody of the tune. So there were these background horn lines that really, they weren't just backgrounds, they were to the foreground. And by the way, the string sections too, there were some wonderful string lines that became part of things. So it's an integral part of Motown music in the 60s and a lot of music also into the 70s, this kind of horn sound, and you can go and look at Blood, Sweat and Tears in Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire. Earth, Wind and Fire is another example. I mean, these horn lines in Earth, Wind and Fire are incredible. And I think that's kind of what we're heading to today. Yeah, Earth, Wind and Fire too.
Yeah. So why don't you bring it up for us? Tell us what we're getting ready to hear with Andrew on the video clip.
Well, I love Earth, Wind and Fire because I'm a brass guy, But we on our concert, one of the songs we're doing is "Let's Groove Tonight," which is this, really cool song. Shayna, that's a great song, don't you think? "Let's Groove Tonight."
Yeah, absolutely. It's a classic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but there's this whole thing at the end where once we've gotten through all these great vocal lines, the horn section kind of takes over and they're playing this kind of riffy horn part. So if Andrew plays this, people will recognize this as, again, an identifiable, important part of the song, "Let's Groove." Yeah. So it's a short, melodic figure that keeps repeating. But again, it's this interesting thing. It's in your ear and it's part of the song. And around that, you know, the bass, the guitar, the drums, the keyboards, and the singers, everybody's grooving. But the main thing at that point is that horn line.
Oh yeah, you know, hearing Andrew play, it reminds me, you know, in much of our world through our Masterwork series, we're used to hearing something like, you know, the opening fanfare, solo trumpet of Mahler 5, or a wonderful Bruckner symphony or Strauss, where that trumpet presence is just so huge. And you listen to him do something like that, and you think, oh my God, it's so stratospheric. And these are not easy parts. You've got to have serious chops to do this stuff.
It's really difficult music. And, you know, when they did it in the recording studio, you could turn the mic on. If it didn't work, you go back, you take it over again. You could have 10 tries to do it. But when we do this concert live, and we're doing 2 hours of Motown music with all of these incredible brass parts and string parts that they have to just play down, it is really a feat, I'll say. And I think oftentimes, you know, but I'll tell you the funny thing about it, though. A lot of the people playing it, obviously, you know, their main focus is playing classical music, but all the brass players, they all know this music. And I can't tell you the number of times we've done this concert and the brass guys come up to me and say, thank you so much. And the string players too. We've heard this music our whole lives. And the fact that we get to sit here and play those parts is really meaningful and important. And that goes to something I've always believed in my entire career, that there are only 2 kinds of music in the world, good and bad. And if you play good music, no matter if it's Motown or if it's Mahler or Beethoven or Count Basie or Duke Ellington or Scott Joplin or Billy Joel or Stevie Wonder, if it's good music, great musicians love to play it. Totally.
That's very well said. We've got a question coming in online for Shayna. I wanted to ask. The question is, knowing what you know about the history and influence in Motown music, do you approach it in a different way as an artist?
I mean, when I think of the Motown artists and just Black artists in general that were here before me, I mean, I handle it with kid gloves. Mm-hmm. I make sure that I want to preserve the quality of the music and what they originally were doing. And also when you're performing for an audience who's very familiar with the Motown sound, I don't like to steer away too much from that, but I also want to put my own thing on it and I'm put like a modern twist, because that's a great thing about the Motown music. It's ageless. Like it never sounds to me like, oh, this song sounds like it came out 40 years ago. I mean, there might be some lyrics that are particular to that time and era, which I've always said that music from the 70s it represents what was going on in the world, like what's going on in politics or war or whatever it is. And so I have to respect that time frame when I'm going in to do music from that era, from the 60s. So
yeah, well, you know, I'm gonna ask the TSO folks behind the scene to let me watch that video a few more times of you doing that, because superstition without interpretation, you know, it speaks volumes. And I really thank you again for that. And Jeff, thank you for being a part of this too. This was a wonderful conversation. You know, it's not the same thing as being together and living it with an audience, but if this is as close as we can get, I'm going to be really happy with it.
Well, and thank you for caring about the people who come to your concerts and wanting to give them insight into what we were doing and keeping them, you know, involved and knowing that we all love them, we miss them. We all want to be back in the concert hall again, and we're going to get there. It's going to take some time. We're going to figure it out, but you know, this is our soul, our spirit, our love, and we miss everybody. And I'm really looking forward to the next time I'm in Toronto with the incredible Toronto Symphony Orchestra, one of the greatest orchestras in the world. And I love the audiences, you know, and I always would remark on a Tuesday matinee and seeing so many people there, or a Wednesday matinee, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Where does this happen? I've always loved the city and its people, and I want to thank you so much for including me in this series.
Well, the city loves you guys back, and I can't think of two more perfect representatives of the art form. A shout out to Andrew McCandless. Thanks for sending in the clip as well. And I'll echo what you said. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the patrons and supporters that are a part of everything that we do. So thanks to them as well. You all stay safe. Have a beautiful weekend, and we'll see you soon somewhere.
All right. Au revoir.
Bye.
Au revoir.